There's an Irish newspaper that has a strapline that says, before you make up your mind, open it. I think that's part of the biggest problem, that people come into it with these preconceived notions about what it's going to be or how it'll work. They think they know about it. If you really want to become more flexible, improve quality, improve productivity, lower cycle time, improve your sustainability credentials, come with an open mind. Don't come with these absolute hard and set facts that you think this is the way it should operate. The other thing I would say to a lot of, if builders are really serious about this, is there is a theory that goes around in the US that says, not invented here. In other words, if it wasn't invented in the US, it didn't exist. Let me tell you, I'm 40 plus years, my family's 60 plus years in the offsite industry. It's been done before. I would nearly encourage every builder, and I think this is well worth their while, and maybe this is something the Housing Innovation Alliance could do, and I know you do things like this, is take builders and actually walk them around, meet builders. And I don't mean it's necessarily in Germany or Austria where a lot of them go to, because they have a different model in terms of the way homes are built. They're not generally done by production home builders. It's more quasi-custom homes on individual sites. But Britain and Ireland, pretty much similar to the United States in terms of most of the homes that are delivered, although it's not the same volume as here, but most of the homes that are delivered by national production home builders. If you go and you talk to them and you see how they operate, how they run their off-site side of their businesses, I think most people here would be genuinely shocked that it would upturn most of their thinking on how they approach the job site.
I want to switch gears a little bit. There was a conversation we had started a few weeks ago about a post that you had put out there regarding kind of the quote unquote the cart before the horse, putting the cart before the horse in context of investments in factories and machinery. What I'd like to do is, maybe you could just retell that story a little bit. I know that I went off like wildfire, right? It was kind of all over social media, receiving a lot of comments. So I think that ties back to the process conversation quite a bit here. So I just wanted to make sure we hit on that.
Yeah, I think at the end of it, it had 225,000 views and I think nearly 2,500 comments on it. Wow. So it obviously touched there was a sore point, but it actually obviously touched some sort of point with people within the industry.
Yeah,
and I think most of the people were in agreement with it, because I think there's a lot of people like myself, both in the United States and around the world, that understand if you're going to go into this business, going out and just simply putting equipment on your factory floor is not going to make you a successful offsite company. That's a bit like, I use the analogy of Formula One racing. If anybody understands Formula One racing, you know there's two identical cars. They're absolutely identical. They're owned by the same team. They have the same tires. They have the same fuel. They have the same aerodynamics. They're absolutely identical. But both cars don't cross the line at the same time. But both cars, let's call them piece of equipment, are identical. Why don't they do exactly what they're supposed to do? Why don't they just finish it exactly at the same time? And obviously the answer is because they've both got different drivers.
Right.
So, and think about it, in this situation, the driver is the software. He's the designer. He's determining how each one of the levers that are in that car are utilized, in what order, what way, that determines whether or not that car finishes first or second relative to his teammate. So what I've seen in the US is, over the last 4 or 5 years, are people interested in the offsite industry. And I'm saying this genuinely because I want people in the industry to be successful. But I see people going out and spending large amounts of money on very high-tech, sophisticated equipment, thinking that that's the solution, and not figuring out that machine will only do what it's told to do. And the last thing that they think about doing is investing in their design, automation, their software, and their people at that end of the business to make sure they can get the maximum amount out of that automation. And then when they discover that, they're probably 1.5 years of a delay before they're ever going to get anything out of that equipment of any use, because that's the length of time it's going to take to get that optimized. And so what I've seen is people in this market seem to have an easier time investing in $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9 million worth of automation on their factory floor, but can't get their head around the fact that they may have to invest $2, $3, $4, $5 million. Well, that means just say a couple of $1 million in perfecting their software and design automation in order to get the maximum efficiency out of that software, out of that factory automation. And that's what I mean by putting the cart before the horse. They go out and they buy the hardware before they ever bought the software. And the software is actually what tells the hardware what to do. Put another analogy, it's a bit like going out and buying you go out and you buy your car, but you forgot to put the engine in it. So it looks great sitting outside your house, but it's not going anywhere. Right. And that's the same as putting that, whether it's a Swedish or German automation sitting on your factory floor, right? It looks great. It's not going to do anything. Or if it does, it'll be suboptimum in terms of its output. I keep saying that the machinery will only do what it's told to do. Now, when you understand that, you realize, because you realize where the efficiency has to be gained. Because when you look at putting in automation on your factory floor, really what you're saying to yourself is, I want to have high quality, high output, high efficiency in terms of my manufacturing. So let's focus on the word efficiency. In order to get that machine to do anything, you've had to send a file to it, which has had to come out of some software with some people sitting designing it. That's the most important level of efficiency that you have to gain, because you have to make sure you can continually send accurate files to that machine, and you don't want to be overspending your time and money producing those files. So you need to make sure that your software has been tuned to maximum performance to provide the information to the equipment for you to get the efficiency on the factory floor. But it won't work the other way around. There's two aspects to that in your design department, your engineering department, is you have to make sure that people are trained as efficiently as possible. And that requires investment. And you have to make sure that your software is invested in or customized to give you what you want, but also to give you maximum efficiency. Because what a lot of people also don't realize is the software out of the box is not really much use to you. There's a lot of work that has to go in. I don't want to call it programming. Some cases it is programming. In other cases, it's just building up the information, the detailing that are specific to your type of manufacturing. But you have to spend the time doing it in order to get it to send it to the equipment efficiently, because you don't want to be replicating things over and over again. So efficiency of your design and engineering department, in my opinion, is more important than the automation on the factory floor. Think about it this way. Anybody with money can go and buy the automation on the factory floor. Anybody. All of us can go to Randeck or Weinmann or anybody else and say, I want that piece of equipment. And they will be more than happy to supply it to you. They put it on your factory floor, you can buy it. You turn around to your design engineering department, try to produce the information to drive that machinery. Not everybody can do that.
Right.
That's the hard part. It's not what you know that you don't know that catches you out. It's what you know for certain that isn't true that catches you out. And the problem is when you start to get into that software design engineering, getting the people trained up, finding them, literally just in this current market, finding those people is a difficult task. But even when you find them, getting them trained to the correct level, that's a difficult task. Then add to that the fact that your software has to be customized to give you maximum efficiency. That's a lot of time and money and effort to be able to do that. And this is where I'm talking about the horse before the cart before the horse. That's, in my opinion, where most of these companies that invest heavily in automation fail. They didn't understand that it's the efficiency of the software that's more important than the efficiency of the automation on the factory floor. You've got to be able to feed that beast on your factory floor as efficiently as possible. There's a lot of time and effort and work that needs to go in there, and it just seems to get missed. I'm listening to automation suppliers tell me that they have lead times now of upwards of 2 years to supply automation from Europe into the offsite industry in the United States. And I'm wondering where all the people are going to drive this automation, because nobody's making investments in that side of things. They don't even know where the people are. That is the dilemma here. There really needs to be a focus on developing those people to allow you to drive and get the benefit of that automation on the factory floor.
Yeah,
so
building up that talent pool, no, that's incredibly important. I guess the good news is with 3-year lead times, they have plenty of time to go out and find that person and get them trained up, right?
Well, the way I said is when my experience of it is, I mean, you don't really get the benefit of experienced people until they've got a lot more years than that under their belt. There's a dramatic difference between, let's just say, somebody who has 10 years experience providing files to Randeck or Weinmann Automation, and there is a guy who's got 2 or 3 years. I mean, take that from somebody who's been at this a long time. There's a dramatic difference. Even the 2 to 3 years will not give you really what you want. But again, there's ways around it. I mean, I think that if you're going to invest in that level of automation, in my opinion, the first thing that anybody in the United States is going to do is actually go and put an advert in all the European newspapers saying, I want to bring somebody with experience over to the United States, whether that's for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. But to think that you're going to do it internally from scratch, you are really going to burn money. It's not that easy. Certainly to get off the ground, it's not that easy. And that's where I'm saying that the cart before the horse. Invest in your people and your software before you invest in the automation.